They thought it would be easy. A lone woman at sea in a boat small enough for the waves to swallow. In them, 3 uniformed Navy officers in a government vessel bearing down like predators. Point 1 sharp turn from them, and the water shuddered around her hull. Her boat tilted, rope strained and cold. Cedar slashed over her deck. She gripped the rail, knuckles white. Yet her eyes did not flinch. From the shore, distant fishermen paused, their nets hanging midair, unsure whether they were watching a drill or slow motion. Disaster. The officers' laughter drifted across the water, a sound too light for the danger they just created. Point 1 leaned forward, shouting something crude about her getting out of Navy waters. She didn't reply. Not yet. Her name was Evelyn Hale, 51 years old, former Navy, rescue diver, the kind who had once pulled strangers from oil-slick water in, the dark with debris slicing her hands, and the cold biting her bones, the kind who had served through storms so violent the sea itself seemed to scream, and the kind who had buried more friends than she could count, good people who never came home from missions they couldn't refuse. After 24 years of service, Evelyn retired quietly. She bought this small boat, painted her late husband's name on the bow, and took to the open, water for peace, not for confrontation. But peace was something these men seemed determined to sink. They circled her, again, close enough for their wake to slap her boat hard. Her fuel gauge trembled near empty. The shore was a slash for mile away. She knew that one wrong wave could flip her. Still, her hand stayed steady. Her gaze stayed level. On the dock, a handful of locals gathered. No one moved to intervene. No one called for help. The uniform on those men's backs made them untouchable. At least 2. Everyone else. But Evelyn knew something. They didn't. Her silence wasn't fear. It was patience. Eye in her pocket was a small weathered satellite phone. The kind issued only to certain veterans. The kind that could bypass all civilian lines and connect directly to military command. Even in the middle of nowhere, she ran her thumb across the worn plastic, and then she waited until their boat came dangerously close once more. When it did, she pressed the call button. The voice that answered was deep, controlled, and instantly alert. This is Hale, former Unit 972. I have an incident involving 3 active Navy officers, vessel ID. She recited the numbers painted on their hulls slowly, clearly, so there would be no mistake. The change was immediate. The officers' laughter stopped mid-breath. The man at the wheel froze, staring at her as though she'd just spoken a language they weren't supposed to understand, because they knew that number she'd just called. They knew who answered it, and they knew the chain of command that would now descend like a hammer. Her voice stayed calm. When you wear the uniform, you carry the weight of every soul who wore it before you. You forget that, and you've already lost. No one on the dock could hear the other end of the call, but they saw the officers pull their vessel back, retreating with no parting words, no bluster, only silence. The kind of silence that comes when careers end before sunset. Point 2 days later, the same dock filled with murmurs. The men had been stripped of rank, discharged, and Evelyn's boat sat quietly in her slip, ropes tied neat, decked dry, as though nothing had happened at all. That a fisherman who'd watched it all asked her what she'd said to make them leave. She simply smiled, eyes on the horizon. Some battles. You win without firing a shot. The sea was calm again, and as the tide rose, the dock seemed a little more respectful, a little more aware of the quiet power that could rest in the hands of someone who had seen the worst and still chosen peace, because Evelyn Hale's strength wasn't in the size of her boat or the volume of her voice. It was in knowing that sometimes the most powerful move you can make is waiting until the exact moment when silence becomes unstoppable. And that is why those who truly serve never need to prove it to those who